Hello there, Reason users, PoohBear here, and welcome to my channel. A question's come up in the forum, which I'm going to try and attempt to answer as I go through it with this video. Now, one of the things, it's a bit of confusing because one of the first things they've done at the top is something which I've done, I think I've done a video on it as well with the Nectar, where you can use like the drum pads and things, and you can obviously select them, set them up so you can select a different button, say on a combinator, and then that combinator in turn will enable or disable instruments. So I think I've done that on my live, might have been the MIDI CV converter video. I think I was doing things with that. Basically, they want to use it in a live setup, and then this is where they've changed their requirements in a way, because now they want to use a foot pedal to enable the combinator button sequentially. Now, I'm going to assume here they're referring to they want button number 1, then they want button number 2, then they want button number 3, rather than button 1 and 2, button 1, 2, and 3. I'm assuming that's what they're trying to do, which in a way negates some of this bit saying, well, they're setting up volumes and other things when you're hitting that pad at the top, because it'd be like, well, if you're sequentially going through them, that you're only just enabling an instrument or not really. You can have it already set up. But anyway, let's not get too confusing. The initial thought is they're going to assign a foot pedal, blah, blah, blah. They're wanting to control Thor's control button. Now, they've used the word control button. I'm not too sure if they're referring to the control buttons at the top. Personally, I would have controlled the actual run button itself. So they may have been doing that, and I'm not too sure why they actually hit on certain issues. They then want to send a curve out and hit the MIDI out device and do a loop back into Reason. I'm actually going to negate all of this, and I'm actually going to do everything inside of Reason itself. Obviously, stumbled across a couple of issues which maybe I'll actually talk about, and there's two final questions here, which are: is there any way to assign a remote override mapping of a Reason device control simultaneously to two different external MIDI controllers? No. Is there a possibility for the remote override mapping to be saved in the combinator patch instead of the Reason song? No. So them two answers are no. So let's see how I'd actually go and tackle this. So what I'm actually going to do, so this is the combinator patch at the moment. I'm going to be wiring up slightly differently. So if I play it, we've actually got 4 instruments in here, as you can see, 4 instruments, and you can hear them all at the same time. I'm actually going to be using Thor to step through each of them. So each time I sequentially move along my sequencer, I'm going to play a different one. He wanted 16, so we obviously got 16 steps, and we can actually duplicate this out. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well. I'm going to first of all wire up what's called the select program, and you can see how that simply works. And it is a very simple wiring. You literally take the out and put it into the enable in, to the out, enable in, and tablets are falling all over the place in the background. So let's put that there, and there. It's quite straightforward. So let's flip back to the other side. So now we're on 0, 0. All you can hear is the piano, and as I go up a patch, we're going to be going to the car, and synth sound, and I think it's a string. Yeah, we've got a string, so quite straightforward. So now we're actually selecting which particular instrument we're wanting to play, but now we're going to want to step through that. So quite straightforward again. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to see this select here. I'm going to actually go to curve number 1. If we go back round to the front, and so we're going to put this onto curve 1. So this first value is going to be 0, because that's going to be 0. This next second value, because it's all really nice, it's going to all tie up for us. That's going to be a 1. This is going to be a 2. And this is going to be a 3. And as I say, we can do 16 if we want. And I'm just going to set that to then many steps. I'm going to put this obviously onto step itself. And what's going to happen now is obviously when I hit run, it's going to go to number 1. So piano sound, guitar, synth. And we've got the bottom one. So obviously we've got this particular visual here to say which program are we on, so we can actually see what's going on. I just wanted to go one step a little bit further and say, actually, I'm going to take this particular through signal, I'm going to push it through this janitor. This janitor, I'm then going to push it into the W.A.O. And I've also wired up the gate to the CV2 gate. So what I've actually got to do here on this one here is just offset these ever so slightly from each other. Doesn't really matter what the values are. So that means every time now we go through here, we get ourselves a nice different line, so we've got ourselves some even more visual stuff which is going on. Obviously when you got to 16 layers it's going to be a little bit more awkward, but you could actually configure this up and have multiple of these, and you could do something probably a bit fancy, but there we go. So we've got some visuals going on there. We can see this is actually working, and that is working. And to be honest, I suppose that's basically it. As I said, the final bit I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on this, and I'm going to go click on Edit Remote Override. Sorry, is that a little bit? Let's see if I can zoom in here. Whoa, there we go. Edit Remote Override. It's popped up. We can see that. Pull that across. I'm going to hit my damper pedal button. There we go. No, that's not it. Oh, you see, this is the problem, isn't it? I've got multiple things probably going on here because of my loopbacks and everything else going on. So I'm going to have to manually select this one, and that's what I want. Click OK before I lose it. So now every time I hit my button, you can see we're switching through. So if I zoom out again and bring that on here, I can now obviously there we go. It's quite straightforward. Now, let's actually take it a little bit further and say, okay, what if we wanted to actually play around with some parameters depending on what this program was? Well, we can kind of do that as well. But obviously, a combinator on the back of it only has 16 CVEs, 8 in, so you're going to have to use 2 combinators if you wanted to use 16 to do this 16 different ways. And all I'm going to simply do is I'm going to take that CV signal there, and I can actually push it on this row here. By the way, A and B, they're exactly the same signal. If you don't plug anything into this in here, so you can actually have a variable signal coming in here, over here. So you could do something like, say to yourself, oh, I'm going to have an LFO going in there, say. So that LFO signal then will actually output of these. If you don't put anything in, it just sends out a high signal when these are enabled and a low signal when they're not, which is exactly what we want. So in this particular case, and I'm going to zoom out, say, over here, what we've got going on now is when I actually go through, we've got different controls. So I'm going to now hit my foot pedal again, and if you look carefully, you can sort of see these controls here move. So I'm going to the third one, you can see a move, and that fourth one, I haven't set anything up on the fourth one, so let's go and quickly do that then. So it's a simple case of just coming in here, going into add. Let's zoom in, and I'm on, what am I on, CV number 4, and then obviously there's not really much in the way of targets here, so it'd be parameter, and you can obviously set your min and your max to targets. Same thing again, CV4, parameter number 2, well, I might leave that to 0, and I might bring that right down and say, hey, that's what I want there. So now when we go to number 4, if I now hit my switch, bring it around, round, and here we go, bong, you can see it changing. So there we go. So we can actually do both ways if you really want to. As I said, because we're sequentially going through, I couldn't quite see the point of why you'd want to change it. Yeah, it could be that now he's got his pads and he might say, right, I've got some things enabled, now I want to hit another pad and get something else enabled. There's nothing stopping you doing that, actually, even with this. All you've got to do is you can use a spider, and obviously you can do a merge, and you can merge the signals coming in to these devices. We've obviously got a through, so you can obviously link them up. You can do all kinds of things, and they're quite unique. They've also, on the front, I don't know if you notice, we've got this select any program. The way it's set up in the moment, it's looking for a high signal, and if it's a high signal on a particular thing, it's just going to, that's how it selects them. But we can unplug it, and then you can actually specify these, so you can actually have 2 of these on number 5, say. So when you do select program number 5, it will actually come up. But there's something special you've got to do to make that work. So I'm going to select a program, say number 3 here. I'm going to select a program number 3 here. To the back of the rack, I'm going to take that through and put it into that enabled. I'm going to take that enabled, we're going to come all the way over, and I'm going to actually put it into this through. I know I'm actually using that for that particular device, so I'm just going to knock that out for the moment. Now, theoretically, he says, zoom out, flip the rack. These are both enabled because they're on 3, so if I was to now to hit my run, you can see they're off. So you can actually stack multiple instruments inside of the combinator, and you can enable, disable them. You can use this select program a couple of different ways. To be honest, I tend to use it in the anyway, and then just take the signal directly out of each of one of these slots. As I say, you can do it this way, and you can daisy chain them through as well, which obviously then allows these slots to have two different inputs going off doing different things as well. So you can do all kinds of things. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle, but I think you get the idea. So I was going to say thank you for watching, and bye for now.